Hopefully you had enough time to bring yourself a cup of coffee or have a drink or something. If you agree and if Mariana is ready, we can continue. Let's wait for her.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I hope this will be not a problem that it will be in English, because there are a couple of our partners still present. So Mariana, go ahead.
Just a second. Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I can't get rid of. Okay. Wow. Nevertheless. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Smart4nzeb and I'm coming from Building and Civil Engineering Institute ZRMK from Slovenia. And my task today is to present you our activities in the frame of Live EP Care for Climate project, where we are working on various activities for capacity building of our professionals and stakeholders who are identified as key promoters of nearly zero energy building and sustainable building in Slovenia. Let me explain a little bit as an introduction about our LIFE project. In Slovenia, there is an ongoing project about support to policies and measures planned to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in various subsectors in Slovenia, according to our strategic documents for reduction of greenhouse gases and in line with national energy and climate plan and long-term strategy for renovation of existing buildings by 2050 in Slovenia. The idea of the project is to support the ministries and various supporting institutions in fostering the missing task to actually meet our greenhouse gas reduction targets by 2050 and even more practical way by the year 2030. So this is the scope of this project, and mainly we are working on capacity building of stakeholders and on development of certain activities which haven't got sufficient support by now. This project is managed by the Ministry of Environment and Spatial Planning, who is responsible for implementation of the climate and energy policies. And it is implemented in close cooperation with other relevant ministries, institutes, NGOs, and promotion agencies that are involved. So altogether 15 partners, and project is financed from the LIFE program, partly from the partners, and in majority it is financed from the national sources Climate and Change Fund in Slovenia. We are working in the project on 6 main areas, which are also the areas that contribute most to generation and on mitigation of greenhouse gases. So these fields are green public procurement, treatment of food waste, sustainable mobility, land use, and also 2 sectors which I'm going to talk about in my presentation. So this is the field of energy efficient and sustainable construction and renovation of buildings, and in general the field of raising awareness and capacity building of relevant stakeholders for transition to low carbon society. In my presentation, I was asked to address the 2 important sub-projects relevant for capacity building of stakeholders. But as we are addressing nearly zero energy buildings in Slovenia in this event, I would like to draw your attention to our current activities in this sector. So from the year 2015, we have got a national definition of nearly zero energy building. This is called technical definition, and it defines the maximum energy need for heating in nearly zero energy buildings. In practice, that means that all such buildings should have a demand below 25 kilowatt hours per square meter per year, or they should be ranked into class A1 to B1, which means more or less very good thermal insulation and mechanical ventilation with heat recovery. In addition to that, it is required that all such buildings should have at least 50% of renewables and meet the target regarding the primary energy, which is more or less very closely correlated. We have requirements for new buildings, but also for buildings that are subject of major renovation, and that is also reflected in our long-term strategy for renovation of existing buildings by 2050. Current situation in Slovenia works like that we have a national eco fund, which for some years now gives incentives, subsidies, soft loans for construction of nearly zero energy buildings with some additional requirements regarding the quality of the preparation of the design and control of certain elements. The result of that is that we have many single family houses built according to NZEB standard. And the Eco Fund also offers the subsidies for buying the apartments in NZEB multifamily buildings. So this is an option which is a little bit less frequently used. What is an important improvement in our building sector is that NZEB subsidies are also given for public buildings, for buildings of so-called general social interest. In practice, that means for schools, hospitals, museums, sports halls, health centers. The result is that all such buildings, practically all such buildings, go for subsidies, go for incentives, financial support of the state, and they are built according to the according to the rules for NZEB. In Slovenia, we are currently waiting for the new building codes, which will approach NZEB design closer to our architects and engineers. So we will get a little bit more practical requirements and guidelines for design of such buildings. In the new building codes, we will take into account, or this has already been done. We are just waiting for the promulgation of this building code. So we took into account the cost optimality study, new EPB standards, supporting new approach required by the European Commission. We are strictly prioritizing renewable energy sources as it is foreseen in our national energy and climate plan for the building sector. We also studied a lot and updated primary energy factors so that we can take into account also exported energy and new arrangements for energy self-supply from local production and from community solutions for production of energy from renewables. Minimum requirements for new and renovated buildings have already been quite severe in Slovenia, so we don't expect major changes in the thickness of thermal insulation and glazing. This has for some years became quite a strict standard. But what is an open challenge is integration of renewables and also energy supply from network with the rising share of renewable energy sources. What are the plans of the long-term renovation strategy for 2050? We have ambitious targets for reduction of greenhouse gases in building sector by 70% by 2030. So in 10 years, we have to reach significant progress in changing of existing heating systems, where the heat is generated individually per each building. It is foreseen that in the next 10 years, 2/3 of the systems will become powered by renewables. And an important issue is also that we are not talking just about deep renovation, about at least 60% of reduction of primary energy with the renovation. We are working on rehabilitation of existing building stock in sense of wider renovation. That means that we will take into account also the seismic renovation, consideration of fire safety, and also the flood issues, which are becoming more and more important in Slovenia, and especially seismic renovation is an important issue in the Central and Eastern Europe, where for many years this field has been a little bit neglected because of large investments needed for the purpose. An important part of renovation is also meeting NZEB standards for renovated buildings. The idea by the 2030 is to renovate more than 1/3 of residential buildings according to NZEB standards, 1/4 of public buildings which are renovated anyhow because of the 3% annual renovation target. And similar way is also in private sector, private tertiary sector. By the 2050, the renovation target is even more ambitious. We know that the buildings which are in use today will still be in use by the year 2050, and almost all of them will come into the cycle of renovation. The vision for existing building stock is to reach net zero greenhouse gas emission standard, and with the significant consideration of sustainability elements in new buildings and in renovation. For this purpose, not only insulation and focus on the renewable energy sources is sufficient. We are already now working on supporting low carbon and renewable construction materials. This is done by increased level of incentives if such materials are used now in new buildings or in case of renovation. I'm going to present two activities from the Life IPA Care for Climate project. The first one is training of stakeholders, training of professionals that are in charge to foster NZEB deployment in Slovenia. The target group is described like training of facilitators of NZEB building and renovation. And what we are doing here is offering the training and supporting networking and stimulating the exchange of experiences and best practice in such buildings. And the second example, which I'm going to show, is capacity building for sustainable building. This capacity building is very important because professionals, architects, engineers are informed about the importance of sustainable building, but they are not yet familiar with the indicators, with tools, with calculation procedures, and with the process of integration of building sustainability in the building projects in general. In this respect, we are working closely with levels framework, and we are transposing and adapting levels indicators to Slovenian situation. What I would like to present or stress here is that this process is going on in co-creation process. So stakeholders, architects, investors, and public sector is invited, and it actually cooperates in communication on the development process. Okay, how the trainings are going on in Slovenia. In the Life IPA Care for Climate project, we started with development of training plan and identification of topics, mapping the needs in the sector. Back in the year 2019, we prepared curricula and we developed the trainings. Then we continued with development of the a little bit more tailored trainings for different stakeholders, for private sector, for public sector, for tertiary sector, for architects, engineers, planners, for control engineers, for building inspector, also for construction, for building contractors, and for all offering energy services to building sector, like energy auditors or ESCO companies and facility managers. We would like to attract more to our training financing actors, banks, and similar. This is a little bit at the moment a challenging area. We have 6 main topics of trainings. The first topic is deep renovation of apartment buildings. Apartment buildings are very specific in Slovenia. Most of them have been privatized back in 90s, and they are, by the law, they are managed by building management companies who are actually important facilitators of deep renovation. So we want to move our activities from just changing the windows or installing insulation to deep renovation, together with planning, together with design, together with selection of good contractors, and also in the field of control of implemented works and meeting the targets of renovation. The second topic is about air tightness and heat recovery in ventilation, and about the indoor air quality, which is a hot topic now in the COVID situation. Here we are addressing engineers, contractors, investors, and all decision makers, so in various details of the training. The third topic is energy efficient windows, quality of installation of windows, and advanced glazing technologies, also with PV elements installed in integrated facade. The fourth topic is about the thermal insulation of the envelope, with a special focus on heritage buildings. We know that heritage buildings are somehow eligible to some less stringent requirements, but still many things can be done in deep renovation, also in heritage buildings, and we have for some years now specific guidelines prepared for heritage, but there are technologies that need to be discussed, and above all it is important that all persons who are in charge at the Institute for Protection of Cultural Heritage are aware of the opportunities for deep renovation and are aware of advanced technologies for mitigation of greenhouse gases, also in subsector of heritage buildings. The fifth topic is about meant for engineers, for energy consultants, and it is about the technologies and systems for heating, cooling, ventilation, so on, with a great deal of renewable energy sources. Always a hot topic, and we have a great number of professionals working in this field, and our conclusions in mapping the training need was that they are lacking of up-to-date knowledge of and information on technologies. The sixth topic is about comprehensive renovation, so-called combined energy and seismic renovation. I have already explained why this is so important in Slovenia, and we hope that also some financing will be available in this financial perspective for seismic renovation of public buildings when this is combined with energy renovation. How the trainings are implemented? So the trainings are quite intensive. It is a 3 full days training with lectures, with interactive parts, with some site visits when possible, of course, because of the epidemic situation, we have to be practical in this part. Then we have also small homeworks and final exam at the end. What is quite important is that we are working on networking with all participants in the training, and we are motivating them to share their best practice from day-to-day work. the set of 6 trainings is repeated each year by the year 2026. Of course, every new training is updated with new findings, and it reflects the feedback of the previous trainees. The target is to have at least 720 trained persons by 2026, but we are quite confident that we will exceed this target. It works like that, so we have training online, and we have, when possible, also live, but it turned out that the trainees prefer online training. I hope that they are actually gaining the messages and the experience the professionals are sharing with them. Last week we had 2 follow-up events. Follow-up events were organized live, so that the trainees, the architects, engineers, investors came together and shared the experience about the already finished projects of deep and unzip renovation. It was very, very interesting, and we learned many things about integration of renewables, about seismic renovation, and about new financial opportunities to close the financial needs for renovation. So we are progressing quite quickly. By now, we have finished 8 or almost 9 trainings with almost 500 participants that were with us the whole 3 days, and actively cooperated with trainings. So what are the open issues in Slovenia? It is clear that we need better skilled professionals. We are working with them to facilitate the preparation and implementation of renovation projects, and we are supporting them in uptake of green technologies. So nevertheless, a lot has to be done in this field. What is important is also that we have to work intensively to actually use all the financial sources which are available for public sector and also for private sector buildings. The next challenge is about non-formal learning, and about getting the sufficient recognition of these non-formal trainings that are participants taking part in. What we are working on is that we would like to get a legal background for development of professional qualification for all the professionals that have already invested a lot of their time and effort in gaining new knowledge. And it is important that the market of renovation actually is become aware of the fact that there are professionals who have the required knowledge and skills to do deep and unzip renovation. The next open issue is to get the social recognition of new skills, so that the investors, the buyers of this professional service actually get aware of skilled professionals. For that reason, we are promoting the professionals with new acquired skills, and we are working to integrate the demand for renovation skills in the public tenders and also in green procurement regulation, because by now we had practically no real instrument in place to recognize the capacity of the design staff offering their services to renovation. And the second activity which I would like to present is capacity building of Slovenian stakeholders in the field of sustainable building. I already mentioned that we are developing a Slovenian version of sustainable building indicators based on the European framework levels. It works like that we have prepared so-called alpha version of Slovenian indicators, and those indicators are now available on our project website for all the interested parties, for designers, for investors, and for researchers that are interested in this field. They have training, introductory training available, and they have extensive e-classroom where they can get informed about the details of the calculation of indicators. There they can get also first examples of calculated indicators, and what we are asking them is to join us to co-create the system because in the next year we will start with 2 or 3 pilot projects from the very beginning in order to use the Slovenian version in real life. The final idea of the Ministry of Environment is to integrate the Slovenian adapted indicators of level into the Green Public Procurement Regulation, and most likely also as a general rule of design of new buildings in a due time. The process of development of indicators is very open, so we cooperate not only with ministries, but also with institute, with market actors, with the relevant parties joined in the steering committee, and with chambers of engineers and architects in order to come with the implementable version of indicators for building sustainability. By now, the scope of the testing of indicators lies in the detailed design phase. By now we have offered 11 indicators adapted to Slovenian situation. Few more are in the pipeline. The aim of the testing phase is to check the applicability of indicators in the real life of the project design. There we would like to learn about the methodological gaps, about the data gaps. We are aware of this fact and these problems in Slovenia. We also would like to learn how compatible the calculation of indicators is with the construction process. And in this respect, I am very glad to learn that in the next presentation, we are going to talk just about that, about the relation between the BIM and BIM, and building energy modeling. It is important for calculation of the first sustainability indicator, which is about the energy use in the operational phase, and also important for calculation of CO2 footprint of the building. We would like to get the examples of calculation. There is nothing about being right or wrong in the calculation. It is just about getting the feedback, what is feasible and what is the most appropriate solution for Slovenian situation. Testing has started. We are planning hybrid events for training of all interested in the testing process, but also the online presentations are available. So we want to be as flexible as possible. The calculation of indicators for sustainable building is following the whole life cycle of the building. So we are addressing the building materials, we are addressing the construction, the use phase, energy use, water use, and for the whole life cycle, the scope is to determine the CO2 footprint. We also take care about the flexibility of the building for the future use. We take care here about the indoor environment quality, about the air quality, thermal comfort, about the health of the users of the building. And we are addressing also the recycling and reuse of construction products using the building, because the circularity in the building stock is an important issue that can significantly contribute to the reduction or to the mitigation of climate change. This is how it looks, the video lectures and the testing platform for sustainable building. All of Slovenian participants to this event are also kindly invited to join us and to co-create with us the sustainability indicators for Slovenian environment. Thank you for your effort and listening to my broken voice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariana. Yes, I'm here. Don't worry.
I apologize for...
No, I know the feeling. Yesterday, I had the same situation. After the whole day of meeting, I was voiceless, actually. I don't know why this is, but that's the consequences of web meetings, I think.
Yeah, indeed.
Probably.
Okay.
Maybe because we are in two dry places. And that's an issue also for us talking. I don't know. This is just
this is it.
a thought about that. So thank you very much. Really, I would invite, of course, all participants to make questions. I hope you got the picture that also in Slovenia things are going on. Hopefully our colleagues from Renovate Europe are still there, and they can make questions also and see how this can be also supported or linked to the Renovate Europe. Of course, I'm personally very interested in that these indicators and the sustainability approach goes on, because this is the future. It's not about energy anymore, for a long time, not anymore. And that's the fact. So that's good. I think we should also work hard to reach that indicators and schemes as soon as possible and get them work for us and for the users of buildings. Any questions? Any comments? Please open the mic and make the question or join the discussion.
Yes. Adrian here. I'm still here, and I was listening with great interest to Mariana's presentation, because it's very impressive to see how much is happening over there in Slovenia. We don't hear about it often enough at Brussels level, and also to realize that although only a modest sum of money has been put to renovation in the recovery plan, other sources of funding are leading and allowing you to do this very important foundational work around training and awareness and so on. So yeah, just a comment to say, great work and absolutely great to be listening in and hearing of this effort that you're putting in. We were just exchanging with Pilaslava, possibly doing an opinion piece that would capture what's happening in some of these, some of the countries, partners of the campaign, where these programs are already having impact on the ground. So thank you, Mariana, for really very interesting presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, for this support. I hope we will have opportunity to exchange in future, because even for us, also for us, it is very important to learn and exchange experience in this new field. And I know there many things are going on in Europe and in all European member states in this topic.
Yeah, our door is always open. So very happy to have exchanges and contacts. Thank you.
Fine.
Okay, some more questions or ideas for discussion from the participants? If not, I have one comment or something what came to my mind. Actually, when you see what was presented today, all those activities are somehow embedded in projects, and getting funding for this project is not an easy job. This is live project. Horia mentioned different Horizon project, Cosme project. So we are all working on that and struggling actually to get the financing for very important work we do, as just said by Adrian. And I think here is a little bit of a challenge, because we are all familiar with new calls in Horizon Europe or in Cosme and other calls. There are more and more demand. So acquiring the financing for this bottom-up supporting activities, it's harder and harder. I think this is some issue to be somehow discussed and make also clear, maybe to organization which plans and prepare that calls the programs on EU level, and if there is a time gap of not getting the right financing, then maybe these activities a little bit go slower than we would like to. So this is just a comment, and if there is some way, maybe also Renovate Europe can do something about it. I don't know, but this is my perspective, and I think all of us who work in proposals might agree with that. If there are any other comments to any presentation up till now? If not, I suggest to go on with the next intervention. This is a connection between BIM and DEM, as said by Mariana, which is very important. And I'm inviting Mr. Reich. I see him here sharing the screen already to present that part. I don't know, it will be in English or in Slovenian. Gorazd, can you respond to that so that we will know, and the rest of that indeed, the listeners to know?
Let me
Although all those workshops, seminar, webinars we organize, is also mentioned or planned to open the floor for European collaboration. That's why I asked Mariana to do it in English, because we have our partners here. So Gorazd, what about you?
I will try to share my screen again.
Maybe Mariana should stop sharing the screen. I don't know if that can. Now it's okay. We can see.
Okay, you can see, and
yes.
You can hear me also.
Also, yes.
Okay, now it's a bit better. Okay, thank you for inviting me. My name is Gorazd and I'm coming from a company Pilon AEC from Ljubljana. We are, just a second. I wasn't prepared to do this lecture in English, so I will try to do my best.
No, you can do it in Slovenian. Don't worry, this is the problem. But
okay.
I would prefer English if possible. And you know, we will not evaluate the quality of the presentation in this matter.
Okay, I will try in English, but if I slip to Slovenian, sometimes you will excuse me. So this is our presentation. We would like to share a bit more practical view of connecting BIM model with BEM model, building energy model. In fact, company Graphisoft has been thinking of this more than 10 years ago, when they included tools to evaluate energy efficiency of the buildings inside their product, which is Archicad. Our company Pilon is a distributor for most of the softwares that are used in architecture and construction industry. We are distributor for Slovenia, of course. The main product is, of course, Archicad, and there are some other softwares which are tailored to this sector. Maybe before we start, I would just like to mention another software, Sapphire, which is add-on for SketchUp. This is again one of the possible solution to get energy evaluation from a model, but since SketchUp is not really a BIM modeler, a BIM software, we will skip this and try to focus on Archicad and its tools. So Graphisoft has been around for many years now, almost 40 years. It's a part of Nemetschek Group, which is currently selling software and servicing softwares in more than 80 countries around the world. There have been millions of projects, BIM projects already developed inside of Archicad and other Nemetschek software brands. Inside Slovenia, we are selling this software, using this software for more than 30 years, and we have currently more than 600 active users of our software Archicad, and this number continues to grow. So I would like to, in the next half an hour, give you a quick overview of the tools that are more than 10 years already available inside Archicad. We are very sad that most of our users are not utilizing these tools, at least not enough for the purpose they were meant. And for the sake of this demonstration, I have some small building here. You can see it in 3D model. I can, I don't know, maybe cut it through one floor so you can see a little bit inside. Let's say that this building is in development phase, in the design development phase. So for those of you who are not familiar with Archicad or with other BIM tools, let me share a little bit of the background how BIM model is supposed to work with regards to these building objects. For the fundamental difference between, if I share, let's say, a floor plan, fundamental difference between BIM modeling applications and traditional CAD softwares is that although these pictures may seem very similar to traditional building drawing or something, you can see that with these hatches, with these graphics on the screen, we can represent the building materials that are being used in this model. But in BIM software authoring tools, there is much more than just graphic representation of building materials. So if I open section building materials here, you will see that each of these materials that are attached into this composite has got a lot of different properties assigned to them. For instance, this reinforced concrete, sorry for Slovene building material names. For this concrete, we have the hatching, the surface texture for 3D and so on. But beside that, we have also the physical properties of every building material that is being used in this project. For example, this concrete has assigned thermal conductivity, its density, heat capacity, and so on, and also embodied energy and embodied carbon. Where do this information come from? They come from a catalog which is built inside Archicad, and you can create your own. You can see that we have here some international building materials, and also we have included many of the Slovene building materials. If I just say, let's say, insulations, these are generic insulations, and by a little bit further down, we have insulations from the company Fibran and from, probably you recognize, Knauf insulation and Ursa glass wool. So this catalog is open for the manufacturer of building materials, and we can include it into pretty much every Archicad that is being used in Slovenia. So for every material, we have these 5 categories that can be filled in. You can see that only first 3 are included in the catalog, but every user can simply overwrite those numbers that are drawn from catalog. For example, if he's using some special material that is not included in catalog, he can overwrite these values over here. For the second thing that is very important is when we are talking about BIM, we are talking about cooperation between different stakeholders in the design process, between architects, engineers, mechanical engineers, structural engineers, and so on. So for this to be really, this cooperation to be really good, elements should be properly classified when putting together a BIM model. But not just elements, also building materials. So if I choose to classify this concrete, you can see that we have in the classification that is included in Archicad, we have classification by elements, walls, slabs, columns, and so on. but also we have classification for building materials. And these building materials have just brings to this building material, this classification brings to building material much more than just these 5 or 6 properties. If we, let's say, choose some structural concrete, let's say in situ concrete, and if I say choose, you can see that besides these few physical properties, we can define many other properties that are going to be included with every element that is using this building material. So when we are sending the BIM model to the structural engineer, he will get all this information. When we send the BIM model to the mechanical engineer for, let's say, energy evaluation or energy calculation, he will get these properties that are significant for him, for his work. So building a good building material library is very important. The next thing is, when I choose this wall, I can see that this wall is a composite of 2 materials. I can insert many other skins and many materials, and you can see that this insulation here is XPS insulation, is 18 centimeters thick, and I can choose from this building material catalog any material I would like, and assemble composite from many different materials. Why I'm telling you this is very important when we come to this energy evaluation that is included in Archicad. The next thing that we are needing is to define our zones. In Archicad, this element is called zone. Basically, it's used for rooms, for defining floor area of the rooms, the volume of the rooms, and etc. But when we define these zones properly, we can then make a calculation of the energy efficiency of this building. So if I just, as an example, show you this schedule that is created from this model, you can see that we have a lot of slabs and walls and so on. And we have, for, let's say, this slab with ID 04, we have a concrete that is 20 centimeters thick. This is the area, this is the volume. These are the physical properties of this building material that I just showed you before. And this is in itself is a very valuable tool to get to see what kind of materials we are using in our project. But in order to get a good 3D representation of the building, BIM presentation of the building, so building energy model, we are usually a little bit we usually simplify our model because every single detail can very slow the process of calculating, and every single small detail in this model, if the model is very exact, then the calculation takes longer and errors are happening faster, so sort of speak. So if you can see this, this model is a little bit cleaned up, so we cannot see any surroundings, trees, we don't see any furniture inside. And what is the main goal here is to create these zones, 3D zones that I explained to you earlier, which are covering our building from the inside. When we are calculating a very small building, for example, a residential house or something, the whole house can be represented as a single area, as a single zone. These zones are typically meant to be assigned to a different temperature zones inside of a building. Because this is a medium-sized building, I have put zones in every room of this building. If I show you something like this, you can see the model and the zones together. And if I select a little bit in this area, let's say something like this. You can see that this volumes represents the zones, the rooms. Those zones must be carefully modeled. So each zone must touch the building elements precisely. So there mustn't be any gaps between the zone and the building envelope of the building. So I have already done this. This is the model, and now I will try to calculate this energy efficiency of this building. Firstly, this is the tool that I was talking about. It's called energy evaluation, and it has been included in ArchiCAD for last 10 or 11 years now. I can simply hide the building elements and show only the zones. And you can see I have here two major thermal zones that are included in this building. The first one is the biggest, it comprises of all these zones, is the heated areas, office spaces, and the second zone is unheated areas such as storage area and something like that. I can extend this, and you can see that every room is included, has to be included in at least one of the thermal blocks that are here, and I can have as many thermal blocks as I want. As I said, with a small building, you can have only one thermal block, and the entire building is assigned to this one block. Next, before we start with our calculation, we have to determine some basic things. First is where is the location of the building. If I just click here, I can choose city from this list, or I can specify directly longitude and latitude of the site. I can say where the project north is, the orientation of the building, and after that I get the climate data for this specific location. Climate data can be incorporated through TrueSoft Climate Server. The TrueSoft is a Scandinavian company that is developing software for energy calculations, and they have their own server with information about weather condition, temperature conditions from all over the world. Or you can use local files if the country is providing them. I have this one file which is for Ljubljana. So for this, these are the basic temperature and moisture and so on settings. I can even select a different kind of climate type. If my building is sitting, let's say, next to the river or next to the lake, I can choose moist. If it is on the seaside, I can choose marine climate change. climate type. Then I have all these different information that are coming from this file. I can display this information, let's say, for air temperature for monthly, weekly, daily, or even hourly by hourly method. Same goes for relative humidity, for solar radiation on this spot, and for wind speed. For wind speed, we also have this wind flower. I don't know the correct English name, but it indicates where the most of the wind is coming from on this location. So next thing we have to do is define what is our ground where the building is sitting on. Depending on this, you get these numbers. What is the surrounding is around the building, is a park or is paved. This all impacts the energy efficiency of the building. With wind protection, we can either model external buildings or external elements that would, let's say, block a wind, or we can just use this and let's say from the west we are very well protected. Let's say that from the west there are some big buildings or forest or something like that, so the wind will not impact our building from this side so much. Okay, next thing that I would like to show you is building systems. So we have the two thermal zones here, and for each of these thermal zones we define our building systems that will be used in this building. If I open up this settings panel, you can see we have different systems for heating, for cooling, and for ventilation. For example, if I say that this building will be using on-site equipment, it will be a boiler or furnace. You can set the power capacity of the boiler. If I say that this building will also have a solar thermal collector, you can say which kind of thermal solar collector are on the roof. Will they be used just for heating, for hot water, or both? What is the angle to south, how they will be positioned? And if I select also the heat pump, I can specify also the characteristic of the heat pump. So these are heating. For cooling, we can select cooling machine, district cooling, or we don't know yet. We will wait for the calculation to see if we actually need a cooling machine or not. So if I select it, what is the cooling capacity, what are the characteristics, COP of the cooling machine, and so on. And again, about the ventilation system, you can have natural, just I will open windows, or you can have mechanical, which is only supply, exhaust, or both. And does it have heat recovery, recuperation, and when is this exchange occurs, from which hour to which hour every day, how much air change per hour we would like to have, and so on. So we can set all these things up. So for each thermal block, we can have different kind of systems in place. Next, we have to define what kind of activity will go on in these thermal blocks. For this is pretty simple. Office, this will be office space, and if I show you the settings. This is office space. We have, this is non-residential type of space. What will be the human heat gain? How much hot water per capita will be needed in this heat zone? What is humidity load? For example, if you are, I don't know, designing a fitness studio, human heat gain will be a lot higher, humidity load will be a lot higher, and so on. And you can set daily schedules and the temperature in which the building must operate. For example, from 7 in the morning to 16 hours, the temperature has to be between 20 and 26 degrees. After that, it can be lower or it can be higher. You can also switch off and let building to heat or cool down on itself. So you can have these different scenarios for each thermal block. Now we have defined all these things. Let's take a look at the building structures that are detected in this. Just a little bit to extend this. You can see that external structure, so the building envelope, has some walls, some slabs, let's say, which is bottom slab is automatically divided according to the distance from the edge of this of the envelope. But I can also extend this information like this. And let me sort this by orientation. Let's say walls to the south. These are all the walls to the south. You can see that this composite is displayed here. And according to building material that has been used in this composite, it has calculated that the U value for this wall will be 0.18. I can still go and check this, this value. If, for example, the building will be put together by prefab elements, and the manufacturer of these prefab elements is guaranteeing that this wall is certified for, I don't know, 0.15, I cannot, I can just put the value in here and don't bother with the materials because they are not imported anymore. Because you see this lock, unlock symbol here. If this is unlocked, that means that value has been put manually. If it is locked, like on these walls, it is calculated from the materials itself. And also I can change materials, so I can make a very quick comparison. What if scenario, if for example, this insulation, I would like to exchange it to see what happens if I exchange this XPS insulation to I don't know, any other insulation type. I can do it just by changing the material in the catalog without ever touching BIM model. Just change material, run the calculation again, and I see if there is a difference. So next thing beside the opening, beside the structures are openings, which are very important also. Of course, if I, let's say, select one opening, one window, big glass window on the south side of the building, I can see the area of this window, opaque areas, the frame and the others, and the glazed area, the total area, total solar transmission, and so on. I have, again, other values here that are calculated from the element, or can be selected, let's say like this, from the same catalog that was previously shown for building materials. We have also a catalog of windows and doors, triple glazing, double glazing, with air, with argon or something like that. What is the frame standard, plastic, wooden frame, and so on. And each of these selection contributes to the U value of the window. We also get the solar analysis for every window. For example, for this window, you can see, because it's turned to the south, that it's sunlit almost entire day, except in June or July, when the sun is really, really high, you get a little bit of shadow, but otherwise it's completely lit. And you can also see the amount of the sunlight, sun direct radiation that has been getting through this window through the entire year. So you can check for overheating certain rooms or areas. Now that we have done all this, I can start this energy simulation. And I will choose just continue. He's reminding me that some of the zones have been changed and I didn't update them, but I will just ignore this and go to the calculation. This is a demo model that I move around very much, so don't expect exact calculations to be on the spot. But you can see that this calculation is very, very fast. It takes less than a minute to do this report that is being made right now. And I have to remind you that this energy evaluation tool that is included in Archicad has his own big brother, let's say so. It's called EcoDesigner Star, which I am currently using because on my computer I have the license and it automatically uses the license if you have it or not. But the principle is practically the same, only this report that is being generated here is not so so detailed. A few of these pages are missing if you have this free version that comes with Archicad compared to EcoDesigner Star that is extra add-on for Archicad. So you can see this there is a quite nice report about the building itself, the location, the total gross area, floor area, and so on. And we have specific annual values, how much energy, kilowatt hours per square meter annually do we need for this building, how much energy for cooling, how much is the total energy consumption. We have this project and energy balance graph right here. So you can see on each which days we have enough sunlight, on which days we need heating, on which days we need cooling, and so on. And further down, you get the basic values for the entire building. And if you have this EcoDesigner Star module on top of energy evaluation that is included in Archicad, you can get a precise calculation for each thermal block, and for each you can get a calculation also for each room separately. So for example, if one room has too many windows and is getting overheated or overcooled in the winter, you can get a warning about this because the calculation is done for each room independently, and you can pinpoint where the problematic areas on the building are. So this calculation you can save as PDF. You can export everything that is here to Excel spreadsheet. I won't do that right now. What I would like to show you again is one more feature that is included in this add-on Eco Designer Star that is sold separately, and that is the, if I go back to let's say floor plan, and I would like to get a section through this wall right here, and I would like to look upwards. If I now open this section, I believe it's S46. This is my section now. What I would like to analyze is thermal breach properties of this detail. All I have to do is select the area I would like to calculate. This is my detail called D03. If I go to details, this is what I have. And now if I select this tool, thermal breach simulation, you can see this is exactly the same detail. And now I have to define what is the outside of the building and what is the inside. Define external area. I will choose this is external and this is external. And what is the, to what external temperature I would like to calculate, let's say for 0 degrees. I will go next. What is the inside of the building? This corner is the inside of the building. And what is the internal temperature preferred? Let's say 22 degrees. I go next. If I would choose a detail that is touching the ground, I would now have to select the area which is touching the ground. In this case, there is no ground, just external and internal space. I will ignore that. Go next. You can see it has identified all the building materials that we talked earlier. I can still go and change this material, so I can make many calculations very quickly. I will just confirm this. How detailed I want the simulation to be, I will put it to maximum, start the simulation, and you can see we got really nice picture with all the information that were calculated, and I can place this inside my detail. I will just move it a little bit to the side. And you can see that we got the thermal breach calculation for this specific problem that we have identified on the building. So this is pretty much all that I wanted to share with you. If some of you is ArchiCAD user, I hope that I have inspired you that these tools are included in ArchiCAD for 10, 11 years now. Please use this because you can get very accurate calculations of the energy efficiency of the building when you just starting with the designing, when you just have a basic building envelope, you can already make a calculation according to hourly method that is not available, as I know, in any other tool, BIM tool that I know. So thank you all for first of all for inviting me for this presentation and for listening to me. If there are any questions, you have my email or you can post right now. So
Many thanks.
okay.
Of course, all the questions or comments or contribution to discussion are welcome. So if you are still on board of this meeting, please go ahead with this. Also, if you have some questions for Mariana, I hope she's still here or not. She's still with us. Perfect.
Yes, I'm still here. Thank you, Mr. Rai, for a very interesting and detailed presentation. It is a very rare opportunity that this practical information is shared. So I think it's very inspiring. I have many questions, of course, and I won't raise them now, but maybe for beginning, the basic question is about the compatibility of the calculation engine with the nationally accepted methods. How do you deal with that? Is that an issue or?
Well, that is very much an issue. Because when Graphisoft started this energy evaluation tool in Archicad version, I don't know, 10 or 11, so basically 10, 20, 12 years ago, there was an idea that there will be a certification for each country that is using Archicad. Of course, when there was analysis made about this certification, they soon realized that, for example, only for Austria, they would have to have I don't know, around 15 different certifications because each city in Austria has different rules, different regulations. So they quickly abandoned this idea, and now this eco designer is certified for LEED and ASHRAE standards, but it is not certified for any EU standard at all. So if LEED is enough, or ASHRAE standard is enough, then this is okay. But you cannot think of this tool as a certificate for building permit in Slovenia, for example. You still need to calculate according to Slovenian standards. Even though all these other softwares are using daily methods, in Archicad you are getting hourly method calculation, and this tool is mainly for architects in the initial stages of design. So what the current practice is, architects are doing the building, they evaluate a little bit how this building will be energy efficient, and after they decide all the materials and everything, they send the building to a mechanical engineer to calculate if their predictions were correct. We think that this is the wrong approach, that architects should be using this tool not for building permit, but for the information for themselves to get the best building before they even start to send model to a mechanical engineer who usually does this calculation. So this is not for building permit, but for the information to architect that he is on the right track or wrong track when he's designing the building.
I think this is definitely very helpful tool and very useful tool. And in future, I think the whole system also with the regulation will have to take into account the reality of complexity of design process. So this feedback is somehow not fitting perfectly. So if I understand you correctly, architects in this tool, they're working with some kind of ideal heaters, calculate the tool. Do they have the opportunity to get a feedback from mechanical engineers and then recalculate again with the right systems, with the final version of the EHVAC system?
Yes, that is usually the case. So architect is getting his first idea through this energy evaluation tool inside the architect. Then they send the model to a mechanical engineer who calculates it, and according to his calculation, architect can easily change building materials, increase the insulation, or do whatever he needs to do. But this tool doesn't have all the detailed about, I don't know what kind of faucet,
mechanical system.
Yeah, mechanical system.
Oh.
You saw that there are some general information about how much how big the furnace is, or how much air has been exchanged, but this is not the tool to, I don't know, calculate if one room
or design the systems.
Yes, yes.
It's
not for this.
But nevertheless, very useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Marco Kramer says that in chat that he's using Eco Designer Star in architect and cannot recommend it. So probably this is something related to what you already discussed. So if you can comment that.
Well, if I see his message, he can recommend it. So not that he cannot. Yes.
And I can recommend. Yeah, sorry, I saw it completely wrong. Sorry, Marco. Sorry, Goras.
Well, if you are aware of the limitation or design intent of this tool, then it can be very, very helpful. Of course, as I said, it's not that you get final permit, final certification for building permit, but the idea here is to help architect to build better building, to design better building, and to find problems much earlier than he would on the when he sent the building to the mechanical engineer. So I know a couple of architects that are using it and they are very happy with it, but we get a lot of this from architects. I have somebody who will do this calculation for 500, 1,000 euros. I don't need to bother with this. I just send him and he's doing his job. We think that this is the wrong approach, but this is the reality for now.
Yes, this is an issue, but I think in the future there will be a lot of need and also requirements in regard of doing more versions. with different materials when the investor would like to, have options depending on what can they achieve with changing the materials, maybe more in direction of green biomaterial, that kind of challenges, and to see the comparisons of this basic level or first level of the design, and to discuss with maybe users to see the impact for them, for example. And at that level, I think it's very valuable tool. You can do simply some versions of the design and say, okay, this is the benefits or impact of that one, and this is this one, and you can also probably associate cost with that. And that's an important message for the investor, for our owner, to design where to go, and then make decision based on that. And the final calculation is then done on the choose version.
Yes, of course, you saw that with 1 or 2 clicks, I can exchange material in the entire building, or I can select all windows and change from double glazing to triple glazing, run the calculation again. And if you saw in my this evaluation report that I showed you before, there is also a carbon footprint. There is also a price for this energy. If you set the price for electricity, the price for gas, for wood, for any energy source, then you get the price, which is most important, usually most important for the user of the building, that he can see that if I change from double glazing to triple glazing, I will save, I don't know, 500 euros per year only on heating and cooling. And with this kind of information, the cost of triple glazing is practically negligible. So this is the only thing that users should get from this report.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Matthias, I think you would like to say something.
Yes. I'm colleague from Gorazd, and I would like to thank again for invitation to present this tool. And maybe I will ask Gorazd also to mention how this application communicate with other tools for passive house design, or is it possible to communicate with other tools? You know, is it just closed?
Yeah, okay. I forgot to show this. When you do the calculation, you have a simple save as. I said that you can export all the information to Excel spreadsheet, but you can also send it to GB XML format, that's green building XML format, or you can export the information to passive PP, this Passive House Institute spreadsheet. So if you are designing a passive house, you are using this their Excel spreadsheet, you can directly export all the calculations to this Excel spreadsheet. So also all the information that I was talking about with building materials, the physical properties, they are getting out from a BIM model to external partners via IFC format, which is standard for building information modeling coordination. So all this is very well connected to the other programs. I mentioned Sapphira before. You can import IFC files from Archicad to Sapphira, or any other energy efficiency calculation tool that is on the market.
Thank you. Any other question from the audience? If you are still with us, we are a little bit after the the time of the event, but nevertheless, still chance to ask Goraz, Natyash, Mariana something. If not, I will just bring this event to the end. Just a second, I would like to share something. Share. So first of all, I would like to thank all the presenters for very valuable presentation. Some of them already gone for another meeting or event. So it was really interesting event. I hope we learn a lot, all of us. There will be more in this field for sure. And I would like you in this opportunity invite you to the next webinar we organize within our initiative of International Circular Construction Cluster, and it's a presentation from Africa about their activities in this circular construction field, presented by Yame Ngave from Botswana, and it will take place on 11th of November, 11:30 a.m. So you can register and see what is going on in this country, in this field, and hopefully we will get persons from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment here in Slovenia to learn more on how they will implement the National Resilience and Recovery Plan in the field of building renovation, which was planned to be done today, but they are not available for the moment. So keep following us in this regard on our web page and social media. And the best way is to register on Eventbrite or to register for our newsletter, where we send information on the next planned event. So this is all for today. Hopefully it was interesting for us. And thank you again for being with us, and see you at the next event.
Vlado, najlepša hvala.
Prosim.
Zelo dobro ste organizirali.
Še enkrat pa opravičilo mogoče za tiste, ki ste mogoče teže spremljali, ki je bilo v angleščini, ampak enostavno veliko je bilo udeležencev iz Evrope in potem smo ostali na angleškem, v angleščini, in mislim, da je bilo vse v redu. Dobro, se vidimo naslednjič. Thank you very much. See you at the next event.
Ok, hvala. Čau, čau.
Ja, Marjana, reci.
Ja, rada bi se s tabo, bojo te video posnetki na voljo
Ja.
današnjega dogodka?
Ja, bodo. Včasih, hvala, sem spomnila recording, stop recording.
Okay.